Welcome to the CrossFit Max podcast.
What is going on, team? Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We have a really fun one, and I'm excited for you to hear it because we got another guest this week. And that guest is someone that I'm very fortunate to have met, not just as a community member at CrossFit Max, but also now a colleague and a coach. And her name is Maria. And we discuss all things health, family related. She has truly a wonderful story that I'm excited for you guys to hear. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you give us a rating and a review. Let's get right to it. What is going on, team? Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day. I got someone really special with me as a guest on the podcast today. Welcome, Coach Maria.
Hi, everyone.
Wow. Second week in a row that we have a guest on the podcast. Do you feel honored?
I do feel very honored.
How nervous are you?
Very nervous.
That's
Try
all
not
right.
to show it.
We always start with a banter topic. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
I have not discussed this with Maria before. We have a general topic that I'm excited to discuss with you because I feel like we can relate really well, and hopefully our listeners will be able to relate as well. And I think there will be many people that will. But banter topic. What are your top 3 favorite CrossFit exercises?
Oh, my.
On the spot here.
Okay. Easy.
Doesn't have to be like the best to like number
best.
1, number 2, number 3, just your top 3.
Definitely power cleans, which is something we're working today. Which I love
indeed.
It.
You got to coach it at the 6 and 9 a.m.
Yes, it was fun.
What were the things that you were making them work on this morning? Was there anything particular?
It's more full extension of the body and getting that power.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Like exploding.
Yeah. For the listeners, we had an EMOM of 12 minutes where they're doing 1 clean and essentially just building up to something heavy. Because today is the first day of our new training block. We're on week 1 of 12, and not just week 1, but day 1 as well. And that's going to be one of the main focuses is cleans. So you got to coach them on their first classes this morning, which I'm excited. I'm going to be coaching the 12 p.m. today, and I think I'm going to be coaching you.
Yes, I cannot wait to train.
All right. So power clean
Power
or
cleans.
cleans in general, or just power cleans?
Power cleans, I want to
Okay.
say, working on my squat clean. So power cleans for now.
All right.
Next one is absolutely front squats.
Front squats.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. They kind of go well together. So your
Yeah.
squat clean is going to be something that will be interesting for you to work on.
And the last one, which is I've improved lately, is the handstand push-ups.
Oh, I
Slowly,
knew you were going to say that. Because 12 weeks ago, that was the main, one of the main gymnastic focuses, was just getting upside down.
Absolutely.
We did, we started with wall walks, I think the previous 12-week block. And then we worked on handstand push-ups the previous 12-week, where we worked on just getting upside down, facing away from the wall. And then we did handstand holds.
Yes.
We did handstand push-ups, deficit handstand push-ups. Did you get any deficits? Did you ever get to the ground level?
I did the RX, but I never did the deficit.
Okay, so you did like an actual handstand push-up.
Yeah,
okay,
I did 15 of those.
I was
aiming for 5.
I don't
but
think
it
at the
didn't.
beginning of this 12-week block you're able to do a handstand.
I was not able to kick up.
Oh,
So
snap.
It's, yes, I don't know how we got here, so I'm very happy.
I know exactly how you got there. A lot of hard work and
Yes.
consistency, showing up, doing the hard work, getting
That's it.
upside down. So you went from being able to do your first handstand hold facing away from the wall 12 weeks ago to how many we had a test. Did you do the test last
I
week?
did the test and I got 15 RX.
15 handstand push-ups. So from first just handstand hold
Yes.
to 15 handstand push-ups in a 12-week block. That's 3 months. Wow.
I'm very proud.
Yes, you should be. I also found that was really rewarding from a coaching side of things to be able to see not just people like you, but people who haven't gotten upside down in their entire life. You know, we had Mafalda client of the week, and she went from being terrified of going upside down. There's a lot of people that were scared to go upside down. People were like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do a handstand push-up or even get into a handstand, to them being upside down, holding it. Some of them were doing freestanding handstand holds, which is going to be the progression we're going to be working on this 12 weeks. So good job for you.
Thank you. I
freaking
feel like
awesome.
The full CrossFit Max, the people have been pretty much learned to kick upside down, and that's pretty impressive to see how we've worked on that on those weeks. So it's amazing.
I remember telling this story to a lot of people when we first started this 12-week block of the first time I got to kick up against the wall and did my first handstand, and I remember being absolutely terrified, doing the classic like throw your body as hard as you can up against the wall, bounce down, collapse down, and realize, I need to keep my arms straight when I do this. And then doing it and finally getting it, and then going home immediately and being like, look, Mom, look what I can do. And I like kicked up against the wall in the kitchen just to show her like how proud I was. This is like 20-year-old Brandon in the kitchen.
I would see myself doing that. I'm 30.
Trying not to put a hole through the wall. But so clean power cleans, front squats, handstand, push-ups are your 3 favorite right now.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you excited for in this 12-week block? I guess squat cleans, huh?
Squat cleans. I want to work on those. Yeah.
Maybe get some handstand walking in.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big challenge and a very big step, but it's exciting at the same time. Scary and exciting.
Okay. Awesome. Let's get into today's topic now. For you listeners, I'll give you a little bit of a background story here. Susie and I woke up this morning with full intention on bringing little T to the podcast and recording one. But, the family was a little bit more tired. Little T was a little uncooperative throughout the night. Although that being said, he has been really good the last few days. We've gotten some decent sleep. But Susie was just a little bit extra tired. Thomas was sleeping in, and we couldn't fathom waking him up to bring him to the gym. So I knew Maria was coaching, and I thought she was signed up for the 12 p.m. class. So I was like, in between, would you love to just record a quick podcast? And she stepped up to the plate here.
Yes.
Filled in for Susie. So very fortunate to have her. And then I was thinking, what topic could we discuss that we could relate to? And immediately thought about this thing, and it was inspired by a video that I saw from Nick Bear's Instagram. And he talked about being the generational difference maker in your family, or the generational difference point of your family on, I think both of us live in families where we are the odd one out because we both focus on our health, where we are surrounded by unhealthy behaviors, or we grew up with less healthy habits, let's say. I don't know about you, but I actually grew up being a relatively overweight child. I was quite out of shape. I was quite overweight as well. And then I hit my later teens, and that's when I started really like exercising, falling in love with sport. But I thought, wow, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Maria is the odd one in her family.
I am.
Which is unfortunate, but very inspirational at the same time, to be the difference maker and hopefully be the positive influence on your family. And I think you've started to do that already. So give me a little bit of a background on your situation growing up, and maybe how you found health, or why you started focusing on health, let's say.
So for people that don't know me, I grew up in Greece. I was born there. I lived for 16 years there. And the lifestyle there, I come from an island. There's a lot of outdoor stuff to do.
Which island?
Zakynthos. It's near Italy. Zante.
Okay.
That's the English version of it.
Okay.
So what happens is that the young kids, they're not meant to do sports early as compared to here. So when I moved here in Canada, I saw that kids start in a very early age. They do hockey, they do different sports, which is something that we were never exposed to in Greece. And what happened? Yeah, you're gonna cut it out. Right?
That's all right.
So there was nothing like that. My parents were not active at all. My siblings, they were much younger than me, so I didn't really have anybody in the family to influence me, or in such way that I would start training until I moved here. So when I moved here a year later, I always had the feeling that I wanted to start working out. I don't know where that came from. And I remember also my family reacting to that and saying, oh, it's going to be, oh, you're just going to start it for a little bit and then you're just going to just stop and that's it. It's just like a thing you want to
Love
know.
it. They doubted you early.
Exactly.
Let me prove you wrong.
Yeah. So here I am. I started 2013 just in a conventional gym and I just never stopped.
Do you remember the name? Do you remember which gym?
It was Nautilus Plus actually on
Nautilus Plus.
Nautilus
Oh, okay,
Plus, yeah.
yes.
So
I
that's where
remember that
started.
one.
Yeah.
I think it's closed now.
It's closed now. It's offices, I think, which is so strange to think once people were training there.
Yeah. It turned into an Econo Fitness, I believe.
No, I don't think it's even a gym. It looks like there's desks.
No, but I think it changed from Nautilus into Econo Fitness, and then it closed down, and then they renovated it all. I remember them renovating it and thinking, oh, that's very sad that they're changing it, and then I didn't know what they were doing, and then, like you said, they turned it into offices. And
yeah, I'm not sure. I remember that this one closed, but there were other locations, but I don't know what happened to the rest of the locations at this point. It's been so many years later.
When you moved here and you noticed all these, I guess, kids or people around your age who were playing sports, you said you were 16 when you moved here?
I was 16 when I moved here.
Were you out of high school at that time?
Technically, yes. Out of high school, I was in college. Time, yeah.
Did you end up trying any sport at all?
I did not.
Or you just went straight to the gym?
It was something that I wanted from the time I was in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's different mentalities, especially coming from an island in Greece, and where even women would seen as something, going to the gym. It was not like for the health purposes. It was just not seen as something that was okay. Anyways, their minds are very many years behind.
Yeah.
So when I moved here, I don't know, I had that feeling, and then I was like, okay, I was working, I started being more independent, and then I'm like, I'm just going to join a gym, and I wanted to. I felt like I needed it. And
what were you doing at the gym? Were you doing like the bro split, or I don't know what you call that? So
yeah, I had a trainer. Remember that?
Okay,
time?
you got a trainer.
Great. I had a trainer.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a trainer, and she was the one that just kind of introduced me to exercises. But it was more like, okay, like back squats and leg press and all of this stuff. Which
God, I remember those days when the boys would just be sitting at the bench press and the dumbbell rack, and the girls would be in the squat rack and the adductor machines, and driving your knees out here. And okay, awesome. Well, good for you for doing that.
Yeah, and I proved my family wrong because I haven't stopped since.
Yeah. Okay, so you've been
in the gym
since
2013, I believe I joined.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many times were you going back then? Do you remember? Like, were you going a couple times per week?
Maybe 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't have that many responsibilities. It was just college, and I had a lot of time on my hands, so I would join. Then I started engaging with people. I met people at the gym that were active, and that was their lifestyle, and that affected me positively. So it was a big thing.
Yeah.
So since then I've been training. Now it's been 2 years I've joined CrossFit, and I could never see myself doing anything else in terms of training. It's the best thing. Best thing that I ever did for me.
What do you find the biggest difference between CrossFit and like the conventional gym? Is it the training? Is it the methodology? Is it the movements that you do differently? Is it the atmosphere? Like what?
All of it.
All of it. Yeah.
All of it. Like I could talk about every aspect of it. Well, in terms of training, you learn so many gymnastics.
Yeah.
There's weightlifting, how to get strong, how to move more efficiently, how to control on an AMRAP, let's say, your speed, how to be. How to be more efficient in your movement.
Yeah. It's kind of like puts all those fun elements together. You don't just have to do the weightlifting side of things. You don't just have to sit on an elliptical machine or Stairmaster for 30 minutes. It's like, let's do some cardio at the same time as lift a barbell.
Maybe I want to say it's not boring. I'm not going to say that's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
Like, it sounds so boring to be at a conventional gym.
A big part for me is like I grew up playing sports. Actually, that's not true. I didn't grow up playing sports. I found sports at an early teenage year. I think I was, I played like soccer when I was 10, hated it. It was terrible. Okay. And then I found basketball when I was like 13, I think, and then really loved it, but was still quite overweight and out of shape. Anyways, then I got into sport, and I really, really loved sport. And I felt like the thing that I also did the go to the YMCA. I went to Monster Gym for a little bit of time, and then I joined a CrossFit gym. But not just the sport element that I enjoy about CrossFit is that you're timing things. There's progressions, but I also really liked the fact that you were in a group. You're in a group and you had a coach. You know, that was literally basketball growing up. You know, you're 5 people on the floor, the coach is guiding you through this, and every person on that floor is doing the same thing, working together, and it's translates very well to CrossFit. Absolutely. You know, you're a group of 10 to 12 people, you're on the floor, you're all going through the same hard thing, just different levels, and you have a coach that's guiding you through and trying to bring out the best in you to really unlock your potential for that workout. So that was one of the things that I loved the most about that, rather than just like headphones on.
Yes.
Let's go. Maybe I'll go. Yeah. Oh, the bench is taken. I'll go over to this dumbbell rack and oh shoot, that person has my dumbbells. You know, I'll just go over to this machine and read the diagram of like what muscles this is targeting and try to perform it the best here, right? But yeah, okay. So give them a little insight on like your family. How many like who are you living with? How many siblings do you have? And you give me a little background on them. If they've been here for the last, I guess, 14 years you've been here? 13?
2011, that's 13 years.
13 years. So they've been here the last 13 years. Maybe let the listeners know, like, did they ever join a gym? What was their situation like? So shoot, I'll leave the floor to you for that.
So, again, my parents are not active people at all. So siblings now, we've been all since 2011 here in Canada.
How many?
So it's how many siblings? I have a brother and a sister. We're 8 and 9 years apart, so they are much younger than me. I'm the oldest in the family.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yes.
You were much older than them.
We're much older.
Okay.
Yes. They were early 20s. I'm late 20s.
Yeah.
So
gotcha.
Big difference.
Almost
in
30.
Age. I know, almost 30 in a month and a half. It's hitting me. I'd say 30 from now, so I get used to it. The
last year of my 20s, Susie let me know every day that I was practically 30. So
just to prepare you.
Yeah. Okay, so you have one brother, one sister.
That's it.
Mom, dad.
Okay. Well, let's say I want to take it a little bit back. So I lost my father in 2020 due to a major heart attack. So that was a big shock.
Yeah.
He wasn't an active person. He wasn't obese or anything, but I wouldn't say he had the best eating habits, like a lot of fried stuff. Let's say he was a smoker. Both my parents were heavy smokers. My mom stopped it recently, but
did she stop recently or stop after your dad?
She stopped recently only because my mom now was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer also.
Yeah.
So because of that, because of that, she stopped smoking. Something good came out of it, at least. So yeah, major heart attack for my father. He had a pacemaker since he was 40. So
oh wow, okay.
That's pretty early to go through something like that. I don't know if it was something genetic. I don't know what it was. I remember him sometimes when I was on Oilers Plus, he would join a few times and train. But
he never exercised.
He never did it regularly.
Okay.
No, it was more like just to kill time whenever he felt like doing it. So that was the most active I've ever seen. My mom not active at all. And my siblings now, my brother lately actually started just doing conventional gym only because where we work on my other job, we have a gym there, and he started doing some exercises, which is really amazing, I find, because he was not an active person at all. He enjoyed just sitting down doing nothing.
Gotcha.
So for him to just even move a little bit,
just to get to the gym is a win for him.
But he's even doing great. I'm really proud of him, to be honest, because he's going, let's say if he works 5 times a week, he will go 5 times.
Oh, nice.
So every time that he
he goes.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So
does he do it
really
before
amazing.
or after?
He does it during his break.
Nice.
Yeah. So he has an hour break, he goes.
I thought you were going to say, like, well, he's getting paid to work. No. He's like, all right.
No.
Okay.
Which I find also, it's your hour break.
Yeah.
And you go work out. It's really, I'm really proud of him.
Okay.
So he's kept it up. And that's
for how long has he been doing that now?
I think it's more than 6 months actually.
Okay, good. Okay, so
Yeah,
now he's
close to a
really,
year.
it's really developing into
Yeah.
a habit for him.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's enjoying that.
Do you think he's doing that because his big sister told him to get his butt in gear, or is it maybe like a vision thing? He sees you training really hard, or
I never asked him that. I know that also there was someone at work, one of our co-workers, that affected him positively. That
nice.
co-worker was training, and that co-worker
do they
was
go
like,
work out
"Let's go."
together? Yeah.
They started to.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
So I wasn't working with him at that time because we worked together with my brother. I forgot to mention that. So that man actually was the influence for my brother.
Nice.
So he started him at the gym, and I kind of follow up with him now. So if he has questions and stuff, he will come to me and ask.
Yeah.
And that's it for my brother. So
That's good.
My sister Christina, she was training more consistently. She's giving it up at the moment. I tried to get her back. I know.
Can't.
I know, and I know she can. I know she has to get back, and she wants to get back. But I know it's been busy with school for her at the moment, and she's overwhelmed. So she needs to kind of create a structure and a routine in her week, so she can fit that.
Yeah.
So my hope is that eventually she will get back to that. Trying to get my mom to do a little bit of walking. That's the biggest challenge, to be honest. So now she's going through chemotherapy treatments.
Which is so hard.
Yes.
And also just let the listeners know that you have also gone through this as well. Some of the listeners might know this, but you had breast cancer.
Yeah.
How long ago again?
I was diagnosed in January 2021. So that's 3 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
good for you. Fighting it hard.
I'm here. Yeah. And it was pretty fascinating actually when I was diagnosed. I was diagnosed January. In February I was supposed to start chemotherapy. So I remember very vividly my surgeon telling me that the stronger the body will enter chemo, the less side effects I'm gonna feel.
Yeah.
So I remember I started training, going for like walks for hours or like try to do a little jog. I wasn't running. I think the most I've run is since I joined CrossFit Max.
Yeah.
So I started even at that time to just push.
Did
it
the
a bit
5K
more.
yesterday with the run club?
Yes, felt so good. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was pretty fascinating to hear that, and that's what I tried to tell my mom too.
Yeah.
That the more you move, the more you're gonna help your body, but I don't know where that mentality comes. I don't know if it's generational. I don't know if it's where I come from Greece. I don't know what it is, but my mom is always under the impression that when you train, you kind of damage yourself.
Yeah.
So if you push and like she will see me run.
It's bad for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like I tell her, she feels weak, let's say after the chemotherapy.
Yeah.
So I'll tell her, let's go for a 15-minute walk, something just to move a bit.
Yeah.
And she will say, no, I feel like my heart is going to stop. So I get that she's weak, but I think she's under the impression that she will damage more than help. And that probably takes time and effort to change it.
Yeah.
She needs to try.
There's just like that fear factor of like that generation for sure. We're trying to break that now, and especially now there's just more research today than there ever has been on the positive effects of not just working out, but strength training, like lifting weights, like in terms of all fighting diseases and everything like that. Like we know that if we lift weights and we move our body, that we will be able to almost avoid almost all diseases, right? But yeah, so it is hard for that generation to hear that like, oh, you're putting your body through hard work, that's going to equal something good, which is unfortunate.
Yes,
because
it is.
we preach on the podcast that movement is medicine, and we talk about this all the time with our members. You know, if you have an injury, what's the best thing you can do? Best thing you can do is to move your body in the safest and pain-free way. You know, you have a shoulder injury, well, we can still work your legs, we can still work your core, we can still go for walks. You know, your mom's going through something pretty extreme right now, but yes, moving her body will help with blood flow, with her cells, with her joints, with her mental health, right? But that's really hard to talk to someone about when they're going through something super hard like that, you know. But the good thing is that you can relate because you've been through all that stuff, you know, and you've fought through it, and you've, you know, you've battled, right? I find it really tough because just to give the the listeners background on my family, you know, sometimes people think that or find it hard to believe that my family isn't super healthy, and I don't want to bash my family here. I love them all. But like I said, I grew up quite overweight, like in the trajectory of being super obese. And I made that switch, luckily, in that like a late teenage years, like when I was about 15, 16 years old. And my mom has type 2 diabetes along with a ton of other health issues. My father is borderline, like pre-diabetic, almost there, like, you know, looking at close to 300 pounds. Yeah. And I've had multiple conversations with him, and I've tried to have that influence on them. But it was looked at when I started the gym growing up as well. Like, oh, really? Like, you're going to go to the gym? Like, you're for sure going to stop. And then when I did CrossFit, like, isn't that like too intense? Like, should you really be doing that? You don't want to hurt yourself, you know? Like, it's like, no, like I'm doing this so I can live a healthy life. And not to throw shade at my dad, but I'm like, Dad, like, you have a ton of back problems. I don't want to hit 45 years old and not be able to bend down and pick something up. I don't want to feel out of breath or feel like I literally can't run 200 meters. Like, that is a very human thing to be able to do, is to be able to go for a light jog and be able to not feel like your heart is going to explode at the end. But yeah, and then there was other things that growing up, I started making health conscious decisions. Like, I don't want to eat that type of food, or I want to, you know, eat more of this type of food. And it got to a point where I was living with my mom, because my parents are separated. My mom would be like, fine, like, you're going to do your own grocery shopping. And instead of thinking like, oh no, I was like 16 years old, I was like, fine, I'll buy my vegetables.
You're so
you know,
motivated to do that. And
I was like, I'll buy chicken. You know, at that time it was like, you know, chicken, broccoli, rice, eat lots of eggs. You know, like bodybuilding type stuff. But I was like, I know that this is much healthier. Cooking with extra virgin olive oil, sure, it's a little bit more expensive than cooking with the canola oil or the margarine, but that's going to lead to a better health outcome, and I'm going to feel better. I'm going to look leaner. I'm going to be able to move better. Absolutely. I'm going to be able to perform better in the sports that I was playing. And and then there was like, you know, comments like, oh, really? Like, you're going to eat that piece of dessert and you're going to have that piece of cake now? It's like, shut up.
Yes.
I eat really well all week, that when I get to see you on the weekends, like, I do want to treat myself with this. So yeah, I wanted to share that. It's like, we both come from families. Did you ever have struggles like that where maybe you felt judgment from your family at all, or you felt maybe resistance growing up because you were doing these things, or did you feel?
I still feel.
You still feel,
I still feel judgment, or like sometimes I'll try to share my knowledge and I'll be like, oh, you need to do this, or like eat healthier. I try to also like tell my mom when we go grow up, because we live together also for the moment. So I try to tell her, like, you don't need to buy that, you know, like frozen stuff, or like breads. She's like big and like just buying breads and carbs and all. Not against the carbs, it's just more the quality of things. So I try to tell her, like, you don't need. She bought Eggos the other day. And like, I'm like, Ma, I'm like, where are you buying Eggos? Like, the youngest child is 21 years old. Like, she's like, well, the kids sometimes like on Sundays have it. And I'm like, we're not little anymore, which is unhealthy in the first place also. But let's say when you're a kid, sometimes you would offer that. Yeah, for sure. But I'm like, you don't need it. And she ends up eating it, you know, that's the biggest thing. Yeah. So yeah, it's still an adjustment. So we still have conflicts in terms of the diet, let's say. Or if I try to share my knowledge, going back to that, they kind of like, oh, now you train and you know, and they're kind of make fun of me in a way. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. And it doesn't end well. Let's say it ends in an argument, but I still try. And to be honest, my mom has been going for a few walks here and there. Okay, that's good. And, you know, small wins are wins. Yes, so absolutely, yeah. It starts with the small ones at the beginning, yeah. So with the talking and all of that, and my brother is joining me now because he's training as well. Yeah. So he is kind of telling her, you got to take care of yourself. You know, you have to help yourself. Another incident that happened the other day, we live in an apartment building and we live on the 5th floor. So the fire alarm went off. I was with my mom. Yeah, can't take the elevator. You cannot take the elevator. Yeah. And she was extremely slow on going. Okay. My mom is 57. Yeah. She's not that old. No. So that shocked me. And I remember I told her after, I'm like, what if there was a fire? Because it ended up being just nothing.
Yeah, which is also freaking annoying.
Yes, it is. We had to wait like half an hour
The
outside.
worst.
But
Does that ever happen at like 2:00 in the morning? Does that ever happen?
No.
Oh, we used to have that all the time. I guess because there was like construction of the new condo building next to us. We used to get like fire alarms at 2:00 in the morning. The worst.
So you have to evacuate.
Anyways, side note there.
The
Okay,
worst.
so
So I told her, like, what if it was the apartment right next? You had to rush out. You had to go. I'm like, you won't be able to move fast. You need to do something about that.
Yeah.
Because if at 57, that's how you move, how are you going to move in 10 years from now?
Yeah.
So I know a lot of times I probably sound very harsh with her, but I think that it's time that she needs a shaking a little bit for her to realize. And again, small steps. So we're all in to try to change that.
Yeah.
So
I think the thing that I struggle with the most is that my family will, like, if I try to help them, they'll be like, well, you don't understand because you haven't gone through that, you know. And I think that is something that your family could never tell you, which I think is a huge advantage. You know, your mom could easily play the cancer card.
Yes.
You're
yes,
like,
exactly.
Ma, I went through this shit,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Sure, I was younger when I did it, but I went through it all, you know? Like, I know what this process is like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my biggest fear in life is getting to an older age and not being functional. And there's just something humbling about a staircase. I like that you brought that up.
Yeah.
But there are people that will join the gym for the first time and be like, you know what, like I just go up 3 flights of stairs and I'm completely out of breath. I've had that before. I've had people tell me that before. And that's not to say that when I go up and down stairs and I'm like, oh my God, you know?
Yeah. Such a
But
big
for
thing,
some
though.
people, like stairs is like an absolute no-go. There's a huge percentage of the population that if you were to tell them to go up or down 5 flights of stairs, it would almost be impossible task for them to complete, which is absolutely wild to think about, you know? And that's always been my biggest fear, is getting to a later part of my life and thinking, oh wow, like I'm not functional, you know? Like I want to be able to run, you know? And we had Papa Miller on the podcast last week, and for every person that says, oh, well, you'll know what I feel like when I hit this age, you know? Like I remember when I started coaching, I was 21, and I remember people always saying that, like, oh, like wait till you hit 30, wait till you hit 40, wait till you hit 50, you know? It's like now I'm about to turn 31 years old, and I feel like I'm in the best shape of my entire life, right? And having Alan in my life, he's just breaking Quebec records for 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, full marathons. And he's 65 or 66. I can't remember now, but
so fascinating.
I'm like, this guy is running marathons.
Yeah.
Like, they're a huge inspiration to me, and a lot of motivation comes from them. But when people say like, oh yeah, well, I'm not going to be able to do that when I'm older, I'm like, well, I'm going to be able to.
Yes. Yeah.
That's my plan. I want to be able to still move and, you know, go. I'm at my first child now, and I want to be able to have grandchildren one day, and I want to be able to play sports with them, and I want to be able to go up and down stairs, and I want to be able to, I hope I'm that 80-year-old person that coaches a CrossFit class and like 50 years from now, I probably won't be doing it full time, but I'm hoping that like I'm still in front of a group of people. There are some coaches like Coach Bergener for Olympic lifting that I send you videos of him all the time. He posts some really good stuff. He's the original Coach B, but he's the Olympic weightlifting guru for the US team. I don't know how old he is, but he's freaking old. And he's still out there like coaching young athletes on how to move well and everything. And I freaking love it. And I'm like, that is my goal. If I can reach like 80, 90 years old, still be lifting, like that stuff is my inspiration. And it's cool like that you're doing that with your family. You know, like there's so much resistance, like it seems like from your family. It's cool that your brother is starting to get into it. But you're just so consistent with it.
You know, it's a lot of it too. We've lost a parent already, and we've lost a parent potentially because of a lifestyle also.
Oh yeah.
You know, from like how he lived his life, like smoking and all of that.
Yeah.
And now I feel like we, all three of us, the siblings, feel the pressure to take care of our mom and just make sure that she is going to be okay. So we have the stressor. And I think that's part of the reason why I was active before that, but maybe my brother is one of the reasons why he started being active. Yeah. Because he realized some things. My sister is still a bit younger. I know she will get back to it. I know she's going through a phase, but I know that us three, we've worked towards that goal to start being more active, being better than our parents. It's a big step for us to influence my mom pretty much like that, in that way.
You know, one thing you said is that like your father passed away,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
From a heart issue.
Yes.
I can't remember the specific stats, but heart disease is the number one killer in Canada. And that number is so scary high in terms of percentage. I believe it's even higher than a third. I believe around a third of Canadians die from a heart disease, which, by the way, for our listeners here, if you exercise multiple times a week and you eat a healthy diet, heart disease is almost completely preventable.
Wow.
So just to think that about one third of the Canadians are literally dying every single year from a disease that can be completely avoided or almost completely avoided.
It's crazy.
You know, there are like genetic parts of that might play into effect. But if you're telling me that your father smoked a lot, never exercised, didn't really eat a healthy diet, I would say that there's a lot of lifestyle things that maybe put the odds against him as well, right? But to think that, you know, one third of Canadians are passing away from a disease that if they just exercise on a routine basis and they ate healthy foods or a relatively healthy diet, it could be completely preventable. That is a wild stat to hear. And something you also mentioned is that you guys feel the pressure to take care of your mother. What if you reverse that? And obviously your mom's in the situation, you need to focus on her, but what if you reverse that and thought to yourself, I can't help my mother unless I'm helping myself first, right? What people really struggle in, especially because I'm going through this new parent thing, especially a lot of new parents forget that you need to prioritize your health above all else, because if you don't, you can't help out anyone else, right? Or else you're going to need to rely on other people to help you. And that's, I think, a big thing that people forget is that, hey, you're helping out your mom right now because she needs you right now, right? But if you don't take care of yourself, well, who's going to help you out? You know, you're going to have to rely on someone else, right? But if you take care of your health primarily, you won't need someone to rely on, and you can also help out your mother in this situation, you know? So, good chat so far. Do you have anything you want to add to this?
I wanted to ask you, actually, what happened? You said in your teen years, you just switched and you just decided, did something happen?
Yeah.
Or it was like maybe influence.
Yeah, there was a few influences. Number one, women.
Okay.
I'm like, oh wow, hold on a second. Women seem to be liking guys that are way better looking than I am. What are these flabs on my stomach right now that I need to remove? Yes, so to be honest, for sure that was a big one. But I actually, you know, it might sound harsh to my family, but I actually grew up around so much unhealthy behavior that I knew that I wanted to be different. I was like, I am feeling pain in my body at such a young age that I should not be feeling. You know, like I also have like a competitive nature in me. Like I like to win. So playing sports, I was like, man, kids are jumping higher than me. They're faster than me. They can run for longer periods of time. Like, why am I so out of breath after running for 4 minutes, you know? Or even like I'm on a 4-minute shift here for basketball, and a minute 30 in, I'm dragging my feet. I'm having a hard time jumping. I'm having a hard time breathing. And then when I start to lose weight, I started to kind of exercise. That's when I started actually did a jumping program. I did a 16-week jumping program to improve my vertical jump. And that's really the summer that I started losing the most amount of weight. And I was, I think, just turned 16 years old at that time. And I was like, you know what, when I join basketball next year, I want people to notice a huge difference on my vertical jump. And it really paid off because so many people were like, whoa, like where did this like jumping come from? But not only that, I started losing weight and I started realizing that, oh, it's much easier to run around, to jump, to move my body when I'm leaner. And then, you know, I had ups and downs. Like when sport finished, I gained a little bit of weight, and then I realized like, hey, like my shoulders are hurting. I'm bloated all the time. I feel yucky in my body. What is going on? And that's kind of when I started finding CrossFit. And I was like, whoa, like this is super cool. Then started learning of like coaching people, and then started finding nutrition tips, and I've done all sorts of different diets, let's say. But yeah, a big part of me was like, I don't want to be like my family is right now. Like they are struggling at a young age. Both my parents had me when they were 20 and 21. So they had me very, very young. So me growing up, my parents weren't old. I'm like, oh my God, like my friends' parents are in such better shape than my parents are. And my parents are like about 10 years younger than all these other parents, you know? My friends' parents are like 50s, and my mom's like 40. She's like bedridden right now, you know, like what is going on? So I knew that was not the future that I wanted for myself. Yeah.
It's a great realization, I think, to just be able to see that and change that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not always easy, but and at that young age also, that I think there's so many bad influences that you can just keep going, you know, without changing that. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
And then also like your friends start questioning you. I started this journey really early in terms of like working out and stuff. Like your friends start, oh yeah, like, well, why don't you want to eat that? Like, let's go out to here. Like, why don't you want to drink that? You know, like, oh, you're going to the gym. Like, well, why are you doing that? You know, like, what's this CrossFit thing? Like, this CrossFit sounds silly. You're just throwing your body all around a pull-up bar. You're looking silly, you know? But there was a lot of resistance from everyone in my life. And then even when I took this as a career, people are like, what? You're dropping out of university? You're going to become a personal trainer? Ugh, good luck.
Doubts everywhere, and it's not helpful. You gotta push through. You're here. We're learning from you. Learning from the best. Very grateful for that.
No, it's actually been a really fun journey to see your progression throughout this last. I think you've been here a year and a half now.
Yes.
Been here about a year and a half.
Yes.
You've been coaching since February, January.
I want to say January.
January.
December was
December. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, shadowing, and then.
Yeah, so since December to now, we're looking at like 8 months of coaching so far. So it's really cool to see your natural progression. Now you're much more confident. You're a completely different coach than you were 8 months ago. And something that I wish your family could see is you in action. That was one of the coolest things I actually experienced when I opened up the gym is my dad did join the gym for the first couple months here. And you know, he lives quite far. He lives in the South Shore, so like Saint-Hubert, which is like off island. He works in Laval, and he was coming to Pierrefonds to the gym. So it was kind of inevitable that it was going to end eventually. I wish he would have kept up going to a gym somewhere else. But one of the cool things I remember is that I coached him in his group class, and at the time we were baby gym, so there wasn't that many people, you know. And then I remember, I think it was like 2 or 3 people, like him included. And then he finished his class, and he was at the front desk with Susie, and they were chatting. And then I had a relatively bigger class come in. I think there was like, you know, bigger class, I say like 7 people. And I was guiding them through, I remember an Olympic lifting session. I remember it being the cleans. And I remember guiding them through this entire session. And then Susie had told me, I saw them like chatting and stuff. And then Susie had told me like your dad had mentioned like, oh, he's really good at doing what he does, you know. So that was a really cool moment for my father at, you know, 50 years old to notice that his, you know, 30-year-old son is like, oh, all this time, like the talks of like dropping out of university, like what are you doing with your life? You sure you want to become a personal trainer? Like now it's, I'm opening up this gym, like, oh, that's a huge thing. You're going to open it like right after COVID. Okay. Well, like he was supportive during that process, but for him to like finally see like my 10 years of coaching at the final peak there and be like, oh shit. Yeah. He's actually pretty good at doing this thing, you know? So yeah, I think we've both been through a lot. You have been through way more personal,
I think everybody has
health
their own,
issues
journey.
But I mean, like the fact that you've gone through breast cancer, like serious health issues, you know, and that you've overcome them. You've still kept up the routine of focusing on like health being the priority in your life. You're getting out of your comfort zone by trying new things, and you're open to it, like running, for example.
Yes.
You've kind of set that as like your kind of newer goal of like, hey, I want to be more
Yes.
consistent in running. I want to be able to run. I think your goal was 5K straight without stopping. That was your goal?
Yes, that is my goal. But I mean, I just want to point out that 2 years ago, I think I wasn't even able to run like 200 meters without stopping.
Yeah.
And now it's reached a point where I can do 3K without stopping, let's say. So the goal is 5K now. Yeah.
Your growth has been incredible. I mean, just 12 weeks ago, you couldn't do a handstand. Now you're doing handstand push-ups, you know. Like you said, running 200 meters is really hard. Now you're at the run club and you're running kilometers before stopping. One of my most memorable comparisons of having you at the gym was in the first CrossFit Open you did, not the one that passed this year, but the previous one.
2022, I think, 23.
23. Yeah, there was jumping pull-ups and you couldn't do. I think you got one. Did you get one in? I can't remember.
One, and then I got stuck to that one.
It was like I remember just like trying to coach you through it the entire process, and you were struggling. You gave it your all, and you signed up for something that was super new to you. It was your first CrossFit Open, I believe, right?
I think it was like maybe 6 months into it, not even.
Yeah, probably not even. And anyway, so you couldn't really get that jumping pull-up, and this year you're flying on the pull-up bar. You're doing a whole bunch of kipping pull-ups. It's crazy.
And I remember you very vividly
strict pull-ups, kipping pull-ups, like you got them all now.
It was amazing. But remember you trying to convince me, sign up for the Open. You're gonna be able, you're gonna be able to see the improvement in a year from now.
Yeah.
And that's why I did it. And I said I'll do it. And whatever gets me, it's fine. You know, it's pretty embarrassing for the first time to just be in front of people, just getting stuck under a pull-up bar. But anyways, I did it, and it was an experience, and it really helped me mentally too. You know, just going through that also, it makes you more stubborn. And then, this year when I did it, I just actually saw the improvement. So thank you for that, because I did see in that year how much things changed. Yeah.
It's so hard to explain that to people. Everyone's like, I want to do it next year when I'm fitter. I'm like, no, do it this year. Like, you're fit enough to do it this year. You can do it. There'll be struggles. But then imagine in a year from now, like you're going to see a massive leap if you're consistent. Like you've been more than consistent. You've been extra. You've gone above and beyond in your training here, right? So it's such a fun thing, and it's so hard to get people to do that at the beginning. And you did take that step, and I'm super happy you did.
Me too. And I think a lot of the times people think they have a goal and their mind is on that goal, but they don't understand that training, it's a journey. You just keep learning and improving. It never reaches a point where you like maxed it.
Yeah.
There's always something to learn, and I think that's what people need to understand a lot of times too, that you just try to get a little bit better at a time. And there's some days that you're just going to move. Some days that you're going to push more. So I think that's what's important. So when they say, oh, I want to be fitter next year, whatever they are at this point they are now, that's great too. And then you just see the difference as you go and the improvement. So
freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Mic drop. Okay, we end it with client of the week.
Yes. Let's see.
You got to do the noise.
Oh no! Pew pew pew! I can't beat Susie on that.
I did not tell you before that you were going to have to do that, so that was awesome. Okay, client of the week is someone who has made a pretty huge shift in their energy. They actually took a little bit of time away from the gym, and they've been back at the gym for the last couple months. And I want to shout out this client because mentally he's coming in with a more positive mindset. He's coming in with more energy. He's also leaving his ego at the door, which is something really, really hard. And he's just having fun with his training, and I can see a huge change in that. And that client is Aime.
Yay.
So shout out to Aime for really just doing a huge turnaround in all the things that I mentioned. Even yesterday I was in the group with him, and he like walked into the building, and he like, dabbed me up, and he's just a really fun guy. Whenever we put like hip hop or rap music on, he's got
like
the move.
dancing through the workouts too. I love it.
So he always brings just a fun energy. He's also very loud in the groups, and I could tell a few months ago when he was going through that dip, like he wasn't talking to that many people, kind of had his head down. We weren't hearing him in the groups. Now we hear his roar. We hear him. We see him dancing more. So I think I don't know what that big shift has been, but he's really come in and just kind of kept that ego at the door, worked on the things that he struggles in, because he's a very proud man, I guess. And, you know, he's very well built, very strong, but there are some things in CrossFit that are just hard in terms of movement. And he's come in with a mindset more to learn and to improve on those things and, you know, face those challenges head on rather than shying away from them or being angry towards them. So, Aime, good job so far. Keep up the energy. We love the dance moves, and we'll continue to play some hip hop and rap when you're in the groups.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't yet, make sure you give us a rating and a review. If you want to help, you know, support the channel, there's a buy me a protein shake in the notes down below. You guys can find Maria on Instagram if you want to follow her. What is your thing? It's a pretty cool one.
It's cool vibes. Cool with 3 O's.
So cool. 3 O's.
Dot vibes.
Dot vibes.
Yes.
So Coach Cool Vibes is on Instagram. So go give her a follow. And thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
All right. We'll catch you in the next one. See ya.